The first plane we're going to take a look at is the P38 Lightning. This one's called Skidoo. It's owned by the Planes of Fame Air Museum in Chino, California. It was the first fighter to appear in the European theater. The 8th Air Force flew its first mission on August 17th, 1942. The P-38 was called the Fork-tailed Devil by the Luftwaffe, and as we go around here, you'll be able to see why as we get to the back of the plane. It was a twin-engine fighter, the only one in the European theater. It will go around to the side. Actually, it was more effective in the Pacific as a support for ground troops against the Japanese than it was in Europe. We'll come around here, see if you get a little bit better idea of what they mean by the fork-tail devil, P-38 Lightning. The next plane we'll look at is a P47 Thunderbolt, nicknamed the Jug, kind of like a milk jug. It was the second U.S. fighter to appear in the European theater. One of the problems with both the P47 and the P38 is that they didn't have the fuel capacity to escort the bombers all the way to the targets deep into Germany and back. They could make it into continental Europe a little ways, and they had to turn back to their bases in England before they ran out of fuel. Oh, that caused a problem because the Luftwaffe would just hover in the air and they'd wait for these two fighters to head back to England to their base, and then they'd swoop down in on the formations. And during 1942 and 1943, the 8th Air Force took devastating losses, culminated by Black Week in October, when the 8th Air Force lost 60 planes, 600 men, excuse me. They lost them. Sorry, we had a little interruption there. Over the 4 days, they lost 148 planes, almost 1,500 men. The worst day being Black Thursday, the second raid on Schweinfurt, ball bearing factories there, when out of 291 bombers, they lost 60 in that one day, 600 men. The 306 bomb group lost 10 out of the 15 B-17s that they put up that day. Now we'll move on to the third fighter. And here's the third fighter. It's a P51 Mustang. This one's actually painted in the same colors of Lieutenant Colonel Bob Friend of the Tuskegee Airmen, Red-Tailed Squadron they were called. It wasn't until the beginning of 1944 when external fuel tanks were added to the P47 Thunderbolt and the introduction of the Mustang that the bomber formations finally had adequate air support all the way to and from the target. The Mustang was especially effective. They virtually wiped out the Luftwaffe, and there wasn't a Luftwaffe fighter flying by the time D-Day rolled around. This one's called Bunny. And you can see Bob Friend actually in that red jacket talking to people on the other side of the plane here. I met him at the Palm Springs Air Museum earlier this year. Real nice guy. So there you have the three fighters that fought in the European theater, the little friends. The bombers loved to see them. We're very happy to see them.